This is the Celestron FirstScope, one of the telescopes that we have to rent for free through our Second Light program. As you can see, this is a pretty small tabletop telescope, but its aperture is actually a few millimeters wider than some of the telescopes that you would even find with a tripod that you can stand up. So despite its size, it actually gives a slightly larger view of the night sky, such as the moon and some of the planets, than even some of those longer tube telescopes would show you. Let's take a look at how you actually use this telescope. So to start off, this is called a Dobsonian mount. And what that means is that it can freely rotate on the stand down there. So it spins around and the telescope itself will kind of go back and forth, swing up and down. And how you do that is you unscrew this knob right here, and that will allow the telescope to rotate. Then you just screw it right back on. It'll lock the telescope into place. So you don't want to lock the telescope before you have your object in view. You want to be able to kind of swing the telescope around, lift it up and down, lock on the object, then tighten it. And that will secure the view so that you can keep looking in with no problems. Of course, you also want to take off the lens cap. And right here, near the eyepiece, there are two screws. So you want to unscrew those a little bit, not all the way, because they will fall out. But I'm going the wrong direction. So this part on this telescope is a little bit tighter than some. And you want to take the cap off and set it aside. So sometimes I will place it right on that screw in the middle of the mount so it stays in place. Next, you have your eyepiece itself. This one, the smaller cap goes on the bottom and the wider cap goes on the top where the black part is. So this is the eyepiece that has a glass centerpiece that you look through. This one is 20 millimeters across. So even though it looks pretty small, it will give you a pretty incredible view of whatever you're looking at. So you want to take the eyepiece and place it inside where that cap was. And then those two screws again, you want to tighten them. Not too tight, just snug so it doesn't bend or scratch. And then you've set up your telescope. Pretty simple. So now we can swing it at something that we want to look at. And right here, let's do this. Let's swing this down, kind of point it across my room. So when you're looking at an object up in the night sky or an object on the ground, such as a tree or a bird, it's probably going to be pretty out of focus at first because you need to adjust where the focal length and the eyepiece and everything kind of optically comes together. So that's what this knob is for. This will help put the image into focus. So this knob right here on the side, you can swing it forward or you can swing it back. So when you do that, it will kind of get blurry and then clear and then blurry again. And then when you twist it the other way, it gets blurry and clear and blurry again. Different people's eyes will actually need to adjust this lens piece a little bit for each person. I know right now I'm wearing my contacts, so I have near 20/20 vision. But if I'm wearing my glasses, my eyes don't see as well, so there's actually a difference in how much I spin the knob between my glasses and my near 20/20 vision. To line up the object, you want to kind of look up the base of the telescope. So you want to sit behind it, close one eye, and look up the base of it. There are these two silver knobs. And what you want to do is place the object you are trying to find between those two silver knobs. And what this will do will get you pretty close to the object that you want to view. So this will get you, if you're looking at the moon, place the moon right up the center of those two silver knobs, and then you can look through the eyepiece, and it will probably be a little bit off to the side, so then that's when you want to make some fine adjustments. Want to probably adjust it down a little bit, probably want to spin it a little bit. And what this is, because of the slight angle difference between the viewfinder and the actual tube of the telescope are slightly off center from each other. But once you have adjusted your telescope, you can look in and you'll be able to see whatever you're trying to view pretty clearly. You can adjust the knob as needed. Of course, unless you're looking at something like a tree or a bird or something far away on the ground, those won't move. But the Earth is rotating. The Earth rotates about 1,000 miles per hour. So you'll notice when you're looking through the eyepiece that objects up in the sky, the stars, the planets, the moon, are actually slowly sliding out of the eyepiece. It can take a couple of minutes for, especially for a telescope like this, for the object to disappear. Some bigger telescopes, if you don't track and they have a small angle of the field, then the moon itself can just get out of the frame really quickly. The more power, the more magnified you make the image, the faster it will move across the eyepiece that you're looking through. All that means is with a telescope like this, you'll just have to slightly adjust it as the Earth is rotating. So just to keep the moon or whatever object you're looking at right in the center. For something like this, you know, it is not going to be too much of an inconvenience. You'll have several minutes between looking at it before it needs to be moved along with the rotation of the Earth. Some larger telescopes, none of the ones that we rent right now at the moment, but some larger telescopes actually have gears, electronic gears, that will follow the object through the sky as the Earth rotates. So those can get pretty pricey, a couple $1,000s we're talking about. But something like this, all you'll have to do is, as the Earth rotates, just make a slight adjustment. Slight adjustments here and there, but it won't be too much of an inconvenience that's going to ruin your night. To dismantle the Celestron FirstScope, just do everything in reverse. So you want to unscrew the two screws on the side of the eyepiece. You want to take the eyepiece out. You want to put the caps back on. Set that aside. And you can put the lens cap back on to keep the dust from going down inside the telescope. And you can reset the knob to its original position, which this already is. And you can take the lens cap for the aperture, place it right back on so it's nice and firm in there, it's not going to wiggle out. And then to reset the telescope down, have your knob over here, just unscrew that, make sure you hold onto the telescope so it doesn't just drop. Sometimes if you get it too loose, it'll just fall sideways. So just unscrew it a little bit, twist the telescope down so it's in a standing upright position, and then retighten the knob so that secures the telescope, and then you're done. You have the telescope reset. It's ready for you to use it on the next night. All of the telescopes through our Second Light program do have Experience Daliona's label on them. So these stickers designate that these telescopes are through our Second Light program. We are going to actually get a sticker and rental sign to place in place of our logo. We're going to have a Second Light logo on there to let you know that this is a telescope that you can rent for free through Second Light. The cool thing about this telescope too is, if you've noticed, there's an image of the moon on here. And that image kind of wraps all the way around. The telescope had that tiny gap right there. But that image also has numbers. So I see a 9, 8, a 7. There's a 1 on this side, a 4, a 3. And on the base of the telescope, kind of redo this. On the base of the telescope, you also have some numbers with names associated with them. And what these numbers represent on the map of the moon are, number one, I think there's a landing site. Nope, all of these are not landing sites. So these are special craters and the mare, the seas of the moon, those dark gray spots. So this tells you the names of what you're looking at. So when you are viewing the moon, especially at its, past its first quarter into its full phases, you can see which craters and which mare you're looking at. So it's a pretty cool feature of the Celestron FirstScope. One of these by themselves would go for about $60. You're looking at about $59.95 to buy one of these brand new through Celestron. So if you're looking to make an initial investment into a telescope, you can give this FirstScope a try and see if you like it. And one of these, very, very portable. You can just pick it up and carry it wherever you want. I was even able to put this telescope just on the hood of my car, set it on the moon, take a nice look at it right after it passed through the new phase. So it was just a tiny sliver of the moon. So remember, this is one of the telescopes that you can rent through us for free. And then you can test out another telescope after this to kind of compare the difference between the two. Every rental is 2 weeks, and depending on the size of the wait list, we will grant or deny an extension if you want to borrow the telescope for a little bit longer. Of course, you can find all of this information on our website at experiencedaliona.com/second-light. Once you're there, you can fill out the form on our webpage to request a telescope. Happy stargazing, and of course, to all our endeavors, because we have a future to create. I'm Alex Martin, and we'll see you in the night sky.